This is Cougar and Cassius Rifle TV in association with Max's Gym Marbella. We're at Blue Water here for the Maxi Nutrition final weigh-in. With me, all the way from the US, Al Bernstein. How are you, sir?
I'm good, I'm good.
Is it Bernstein or Stein?
It's actually Bernstein, yeah. Although I think I should be pronouncing it Bernstein, like Leonard Bernstein pronounced it Bernstein, but my family apparently did it wrong. So apparently we're wrong, but that's the way we say it.
Absolutely.
I actually used to get, back when I was at ESPN, I used to get cards from a guy back in the day when people didn't email, and he said, "You're pronouncing your name wrong." And I said, "Well, what can I take that up with my dad?"
It is what it is. We just call you Big Al.
Oh, you're very kind.
Big Al, Big Al. Obviously, the Maxi Nutrition final was changed this year a little bit with Dickinson pulling out through injury and Clarkson coming in to fight. So at least we've got a fight still on, Al.
Yeah, you know, big props to Matty Clarkson for, I know he was going to have a fight in December, so he's in the gym for the most part, but it's very different than being ready to fight in a couple days, and he literally took this fight on a couple days' notice, and so you have to give him all the credit in the world. And what makes it interesting is, let's face it, he and Dickinson had what, you know, was a fight of the year candidate in May, certainly in terms of excitement, and it's a fight that could have gone either way. I mean, some people question the stoppage of the fight, and maybe with good reason, and he almost won that fight against Dickinson. So if you were going to find another person to step in here at the last minute for Dickinson, it would be Matty Clarkson.
Interesting. Also on the bill, Eddie Chambers. You know Eddie well, and
sure.
You know, he's sort of knocking on the door at the moment. He's had a world title shot before. We all know he fought Klitschko, but he's knocking on the door again. Well,
you know, if you're a heavyweight that has been close to the top, at the end of the day, you always have an opportunity. And heavyweights stay viable into their late 30s, you know, often. So for Eddie Chambers, his big issue, as always, though, is he can beat the heavyweights until he gets in against some of the bigger heavyweights, and then it's a problem for him. But we'll see, because the heavyweight landscape is changing, and there's only one Klitschko left, and that Klitschko is going to go away at a certain point. So, you know, there's a different landscape, so maybe it'll provide somebody like Eddie Chambers with a different path to at least a possible championship.
Absolutely. End of this month sees the rescheduled fight for Tyson Fury and Derek Chisora.
Yes, looking forward to that.
Looking forward to that, and obviously frustrating that the fight never happened in Manchester before.
Yeah.
But touch wood, everything goes well for this one, and these two big heavyweights get it on. Yeah,
I think that's going to be a fascinating card. I'm looking forward to that fight, as well as the Chris Eubank Jr. Sanders fight, which, you know, they can't get them together for a press conference. I hope they can get them together in the ring when the fight's going to happen. But I think it's going to be a fascinating night of boxing. You know, the first Chisora Fury fight, I was privileged to announce that. We did that on Channel 5. And Chisora always had conditioning issues, especially back then, and he says that contributed to his loss to Fury. We'll see. We'll see if the result is going to be any different. But it's a fight I think that, you know, resonates here, I'm sure, and across the pond people are interested too, because the heavyweight division is starting to gain some traction. And so that fight, plus Eubank Jr. and Saunders, which I am so anxious to see, that to me it really is fascinating to see how that turns out.
It certainly is. Titled Bad Blood.
Yeah, and not manufactured in this case. And the other thing is just to see where each of them are, right, in the pack. They're both very good fighters, we know that. Who at this juncture is farther along? And I think who's ready to step to that world stage again and move on and also control, you know, the domestic scene here in the UK.
What do you think about all the antics from the Eubank team about, you know, not attending the presses and that? Well, is it psychological?
I don't know. You know, it's odd. You know, he's not the only person that has, you know, done things like that. But I find it to be kind of an odd circumstance, because a big part of boxing these days, in a sport that, not so much here, especially back in the States, but even here sometimes it struggles with being more of a niche sport than it used to be, right? Even though there's so much great interest here and people love boxing. So it feels to me, and I'm not going to be critical, but I'm just going to say there's a real need to participate in promotions, because it's important. And I think it's fascinating because we want to see the two fighters together. I don't know what that says when you don't come. People speculated 28 different ways about them not coming. Did he not want to come? Some have suggested that Senior didn't want his son to get to a place where he would somehow not feel uncomfortable, because people claim that happened to Eubank Senior when he fought Collins many years ago, that somehow the pre-fight stuff got to him. That's speculation. But so you kind of open up, that kind of speculation by people by not coming.
Well, we shall see. Let's just hope they turn up to the ring. And
I'm pretty sure they're going to be there on Friday.
I'm pretty sure as well.
Yeah.
The AJISAFE Bernard Hopkins against Sergei the Crusher Kovalev this weekend in Atlantic City. It's an intriguing fight, isn't it?
Very much so, and fascinating, because he was everything. The path for Hopkins was for him to fight Adonis Stevenson, and even after Adonis Stevenson had his fight with Andre Fanfara, and had some tough moments, right? He got tired late in the fight. Fanfara put him down, and everybody said, well, this is interesting, because now this makes the Hopkins and Stevenson fight even more interesting. What did Stevenson do? What did Hopkins do? Instead of picking a fighter that looked like he was a little vulnerable, he goes into the fire against Kovalev, who has been a destroyer. And when you're 49 years old, going on 50, it's a miraculous you can compete on that level anyway. But then to make that switch and go to the even harder puncher and the one that has not had so many issues is fascinating. Somewhere in Bernard Hopkins' mind, he sees something in Kovalev that he thinks he can take advantage of, or he wouldn't have made that move. That doesn't mean he's going to be able to do it, but clearly that's got to be in his thinking.
Who are you tipping for the fight?
It's a very tough fight to predict what's going to happen. If it gets to, strangely, here's a 49-year-old, and yet I believe the longer the fight goes, the more it favors Bernard Hopkins. If it can get to the 6th round, I think Hopkins can control the tempo, he has a chance to win. But for me, Kovalev, he's a big right-handed puncher, but I think the key in this fight for Kovalev is going to be, will he be able to throw left hooks to both the body and the head? Because that's the punch that I think for him could really hurt Hopkins. And you got to go to the body early against this 49-year-old.
Over the last 2 or 3 years, the emergence of Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, has really come to prominence, and is regarded as one of the most feared and avoided fighters at his weight, and just about every other weight close to the middleweight mark. So what's your opinions about him, Al?
He's a very good fighter, because he's more than just a puncher. Clearly he's a skilled fighter. He developed later in his career in a way, because he had a long amateur career. And what makes him interesting is he's a puncher, but he's not a one-dimensional fighter. Maybe a few defensive issues, but who doesn't? Everyone can be hit, except for Pernell Whitaker or Mayweather or fighters like that. But with that attacking style, you're going to be more vulnerable to occasionally get hit. The frustrating part is that, number one, the middleweight division isn't all that deep, and number two, even the top fighters, he hasn't really had a chance to face. And I think his next challenge may be Murray from here, who I think is a very good fighter. Is he on that level to beat Triple G? I don't know, but I think Golovkin is excellent, and I just hope, he's already 30, 31 years old. I hope that the major fights, whoever they may be against, whether it's Chavez Jr. or Andre Ward or moving up, I hope that they don't happen so late for Golovkin that we don't get to see him in his prime in those fights.
Carl Froch also mentioned as a possible fight.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Oh my God, who would want to see him and Froch? I mean, that is, if they could even fight, even if they went at 168 or Froch was able to come down a couple pounds, I don't know if that's feasible for him, and fight in between. But Golovkin's shown the interest. He's willing to go up to 168. And he's one of those rare fighters that can go down to 154 or fight somebody at 168 because he feels confident in his power. But he and Carl Froch, and Carl Froch looks like he wants one more fight before he leaves. That would be huge. Indeed.
All right, Al. Listen, thanks for talking to IFL TV. How's my friend Marcos?
Doing very well, excellent, and he's doing great.
Can you do me a favour? When you see him, can you just
give him a slight left hook to the body?
Left hook to the body, and call him a mug.
A mug.
A mug. He'll know what it means.
All right, I will.
It's an ongoing thing we do. Left hook to the body. He hits me with overhand right. I hit with a left to the body.
Okay, he works for me, so I can do that.
You can do that.
Yeah, I can hit him with a left hook and say he's a mug.
He's a mug, yeah.
All right, well,
make sure you get the mug in now, because it's very important.
I will not forget that. I'm
we're
good at
trying
remembering
to teach Marcos
dialogue.
the English lingo, and he likes to call people a mug. I don't know if he knows what it means yet.
He probably has no idea. He's typically like me, an uneducated American trying to be British. That's like me. I'm just trying to be British. I wrote in my book that I'm a third British, a third Canadian, and a third American. And I pointed out that my mother was born in Canada, so that gave me a little bit of a right to call me Canadian. But the only reason I want to call myself British is because it's British envy. So there's no real reason to say it. But I feel like since I've been coming over here, maybe I could be adopted.
All right. You're adopted.
All right, thank you.
Take it from us, you're adopted. All right, Al Bernstein, thanks for talking to us, and hope you enjoy your time here, and look forward to tomorrow night.
Yeah, always good to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Al.